Hi everyone, so here is Moonlight Soul and Adrienne Gibson from EA Astrology, and we're meeting again, this time from different location, Bansko for me, to talk about the full moon in Capricorn #1. Hi Adrienne, nice to see you
Hey,
again.
Leela. Good to see you. And yeah, this is an interesting moon. Lots to talk about today.
Oh yeah, and yeah, like I said, we will have one more because this is the year of 4 lunations in Capricorn.
Wow. Well, we must be needing to take a little bit more responsibility through this year.
Yeah, I think it's in a sense like growing up, but maybe just growing out of the conditioning.
Well, that too. That too. Probably a little bit of all of that. Um,
Exactly.
Growing out of the conditioning is going to require some growing up, because the conditioning, the way I see it, has really kept us in a place where we haven't had to grow because a lot of stuff is being taken care of for us. And so as we evolve beyond those limitations, that we're going to have to grab a little bit more for ourselves, some structure within.
Yeah, because then we feel like a child, right? Like the cancer that we need nurturing from external authority, whereas all that is being reset as we speak. And yeah, and this Jupiter in Gemini, of course, it requires expansion. So that's what's
Yep,
happening.
that is what's happening. So let me share the screen and we can get right in it. Let's see. I think this is it. Yep, there we go. So
Perfect.
this is for Eastern Standard Time in the United States. And I'm not sure where it all lands for you, where you're
Well,
at.
for me, it's already in the morning hours of 22nd, but you know, all the same anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, there it is. Things are
So,
starting to spread out a little bit compared to the last couple of months where it's all been bunched together.
wow, I didn't even see before that Pluto is making an exacting conjunction to Sun.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, maybe we should look at that. Well,
Yeah, that's the first thing my eyes went to, like, what? In
yeah.
conjunction. I completely missed that one, that blind spot eluded me.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But it makes sense. It makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Some kind of it's the Virgo kind of, nope, it's a scorpionic inconjunct.
Hmm.
So it requires some adjustment. It's showing a kind of power that we have, but we have to be able to put it into the social world in a way that fits. So this is where the sun is shining on our inner self, our inner sense of security, that squishy spot within. We are learning to shine that inner sense out into the world. And that's in line with this Pluto, you know. It's Pluto wants us to break free of our conditioning and to be that true self. And so we have to really be able to um, understand who we are from within so that we can shine that light outward.
Exactly. That's what I feel is really important here to understand because, of course, Sun only just entered Cancer like day before this moon. So that, you know, is the beginning of a new season. We know Cancer is a cardinal sign, but it's one that it's very emotional. So it doesn't like to just go straight for it. We need to tune in. We need to tap into our emotions. And with this Sun being in the sign of Cancer, of course, in opposition with the moon, because we have a full moon over here, and making this in conjunction to Pluto, we don't know who we are becoming because it's only 1 degree, which is the, you know, the magician. It's also the Aries, you know, the new beginning, the magician. Well, you can be whoever you want to be, right? But at this stage, both Saturn and Neptune, you know, that are participating over here, they are still direct, and they're going to be retrograde for the next, you know, the Cancer new moon and Capricorn full moon number 2. So this is the difference, I feel, because at this stage, its sun just moved into the sign of Cancer. And, you know, after just coming out of Gemini, which is all about this choice and multiplicity and multidimensionality, we don't really know who we are becoming, because we are not the same person we were when we had the seeding process, this new moon in Capricorn in January, which was before Pluto moved into the sign of Aquarius. So between January and now, a lot of water has passed under the bridge, and we are
It sure
completely
has.
different people. And now, after this new moon in Gemini, which we celebrated last time, we don't know who we are becoming, but we know we are not the people we were before. And I think this is why we have the inconjunction, because we don't know yet, because we can't see.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's coming.
Oh yeah, it's coming for sure.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. The last full moon of this year will be the full moon in Gemini, and the last new moon is gonna be new moon in Capricorn. So by December we will have more idea.
Yeah, for sure. But it's interesting. I think that a lot of what we're experiencing had to do with new new phase conjunction with Mercury and Jupiter happened just before the new moon, where our consciousness went through an expansion. And then the new moon in Gemini was like the beginning of trying to get hold of, like, gather what actually changed, what actually happened. And what we're gathering now is like, how does this affect our inner sense of self? How is this change of information, this expansion of what it is we know, how is it affecting us and how we see ourselves? How is it changing who we are? And I think that's a lot about what the energy is that's happening right now. You know, you've got this conjunction with the sun and Venus and Mercury, and this is all in Cancer. It's all linking to, you know, who are we with this expansion of information? You know, we're having to decide what that means for each of us individually.
Yeah, exactly. And as you and I just spoke prior to recording, Mercury and Sun just had a conjunction literally now a few days ago, and that made this whole Mercury and our way of identifying reality even more, like, in a sense, reborn. It was like resetted, so to speak, because the last time Sun and Mercury had a conjunction in Aries season, but Mercury was retrograde. So we knew that something is getting rewired, the way we look at reality, connect with reality, identify and think, gather information and process information. All this is being rewired at the moment. We are being recalibrated as we speak. Our DNA is changing as we speak. Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. Literally, we are being reborn, but we can't see it. We don't know exactly what it all means. And now with everything moving into the sign of Cancer, and Mars being in a sign of Taurus, and actually literally on the day of the full moon, Mercury is making an exact sextile to Mars, as we can see. This is all supporting us in tapping in, tuning in, and creating a stronger foundation from within. And this is where we're going to find the answers. It's not going to be outside of us, because South Node is in Libra. We're not looking outwards anymore. We're looking inwards.
Absolutely. And this is what I feel like this moon is in Capricorn is about. It's about creating this structure within ourselves, because as the outer structure begins to fall apart, we have to replace it with our own internal structure. And that's what this full moon is about. We're learning who we are, and we're learning about what kind of container that we need to create for ourselves to be able to hold this new image of ourselves. Like, as we are expanding and changing, we are perceiving ourselves in a completely new way. And we had discussed earlier about this Mars in Taurus. It's about, learning about our sense of value. Our values about are changing along with the beliefs and the information that's happening. Everything is changing when we're beginning to see ourselves in a different way and beginning to value who we are. And I think this is all very important in this shift that's happening. And we'll need to learn how to value ourselves differently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And also because there is the sextile, which is a supportive aspect between Mars and Mercury. And Mercury, of course, is the ruler of Jupiter. Jupiter is all about this expansion. Jupiter still is within a degree trine with Pluto. So this is supporting us exactly where we meant to be going as a human collective consciousness on our path to evolution. And I think it's very important, again, to mention, even though it's no longer in any aspect by degrees, these recent sextiles between the planets now in Cancer, but while they were in Gemini, and Chiron, which is this first sextile is the Taurus quality. This is where Mars is at the moment, Taurus, and Mars is the ruler of Chiron and the North Node. And now that eventually, by the time of the new moon in Cancer, that will become a square. So this is where I feel that how all these things are happening simultaneously. We are being rewired, our brains are being rewired, the way we perceive reality is changing, the way we potentially connecting to ourselves and one another is changing. But at the same time, these wounds of the past are coming up because they are still dragging us in the past, which I've been experiencing. I know my friends been experiencing, where old situations are coming around. They might be triggered by different people, different circumstances, but it's the same wound. It's the same wound. Lot to do with these Taurus, our sense of self-worth and our sense of value and our insecurities, whether we can or we can't. And either way, you're right? Like Voltaire said one day, long time in the past. But anyway, so now this sextile got activated, this Taurus sextile between planets and Chiron, and that will eventually become square. So I feel that this is preparing us for this Cancer season of true discovery of what makes us feel safe and secure within ourselves, because yes, Cancer is all about you. It's your inner landscape, your inner world, and how this is then projected into external reality, which mirrors it back to us. And yes, this is what is this full illumination, because again, there is no coincidence. We have two moon in Capricorns, and one is on the first day of Cancer, like technically within first 24 hours, and the other one is on the last day of Cancer, because we will not be the same people. We are right here, right now, in 1 month's time, because we will have the new moon in full moon in Capricorn, not Cancer, full moon in Capricorn #1, full moon in Capricorn #2, and Cancer new moon in between. So this is why by the time of the second full moon in Capricorn, we will feel differently, because we will have this reset with regards to our identity, our inner landscape. And like I said, there will be these squares to Chiron, which are very important to pay attention to, because this is also what this Mars is trying to help us create a new foundation of, to allow that which happened in the past to make us stronger and to like push through these limitations. And in a sense, because we know Mars is how Pluto acts consciously, to face that fear anyway and transmute it, make it into strength, not into like something that is preventing us from stepping into unknown, trying different things, thinking bigger, creating wider, going beyond, all these kind of things. Yes. So I feel that this Capricorn full moon #1 is illuminating this work, Capricorn work, discipline, self-mastery, right? That will be happening throughout Cancer season.
Yes, because the way that we create this resilience is to try these new things and then bring it back into the center, like, oh, that worked, that did okay, let me do it again. And the more times that we do something, we create a structure of security within ourselves. And so this new way of seeing ourselves, this new way of valuing ourselves with this new phase conjunction with Mars, with Mercury and Venus, with the sun, is really, and it's an important thing. We are expanding, we are learning something new about ourselves. And it's interesting that both of these planets, Mercury and Venus, are square the nodes. They're
Yes.
applying towards the square. So for a little bit of time, we'll be experiencing this back and forth movement between our old way of being and this new way that we want to step into as we begin to align our consciousness, Mercury, with who we are and who we are becoming during this time period. And so there'll be this flipping back and forth, and we'll experience the old way, and then we'll experience the new way, and eventually we'll build a container for ourselves that can house this new way of being, which will end up for at the end of the month when we experience this moon in Capricorn again.
Mm. Yeah, and that's actually, very important factor to mention these nodes, because during the new moon in Capricorn, the one in January this year, the moon itself was squaring the nodes together with Pluto. That was the last time Pluto was squaring the nodes officially.
Right.
And the resolution was the south node. So we can see how everything resetted in Aries season with the equinox, and then the eclipses and everything. And now we are on the other side of that. We are now in the Cancer season, then we were in a Capricorn season, and now everything is pointing to the north node, which is saying
Absolutely.
that, we're moving away from this Libra thing, from this past. We learning, we we need to remember the lessons, because this all happened for a reason, for a purpose, right? But we cannot keep being stuck in the past at the same time as holding, these lessons of the past and integrating them. We have to move forward. And with these planets now being in Cancer, it's all about reconnecting with this intuition, reconnecting with the inner world. And Saturn being the ruler of the moon, Saturn being ruled by Neptune, and everybody in Pisces. It is about tapping into the invisible realms, into connecting to your higher selves, into connecting into source, going beyond the limits of the human thinking, because that's what this Mercury really is trying to say, that we have to use the ego mind, the logical brain, for the purpose it was created for, which is we need to survive, in a society. But there is nothing wrong with ego. We all need ego, otherwise we wouldn't get out of the bed in the morning. We need ego, right? But it's very like masculine oriented, doing, right? Whereas now, with everything being on these feminine sides, like feminine signs, it's saying that, okay, we need to balance the two. We need to balance the doing with the being. And now everything is going to be focused on the being, on the Cancer, on the Taurus, on the Pisces, on these feminine aspects of our being. And this is where the balance needs to be established, that we're moving from this patriarchal society created by men, but not really for human, because the human body is not designed to operate this way. We can just look at the nature. This is not actually in alignment. And we're moving more towards the receptive way of experiencing reality and trying to create a balance. Because the
Yes.
way that humanity has been operated for the past few thousand years, it is not sustainable.
No, no. Humanity has become ill. We have so many chronic diseases. People are so stressed. I'm not sure about in other countries, but in this country, much of the population is on medication. Even children are on medication. It's the way that we are isn't sustainable for life, isn't sustainable for happiness and joy. And, this is a beautiful place. And we should have the opportunity to enjoy the beauty that we're in, but we're so focused in the patriarchal, got to go to work, got to go to work, get up, go to sleep, get up, go to sleep, eat what's quick, and the enjoyment is few and far between. And that doesn't make for healthy, happy human beings. So yes, I agree with you to shift into a human being instead of a human doing is this goal. And I think that that's part of what this Pluto is to break away from this conditioning that we've had for thousands of years and begin to find a new way. something from within, because the opposition point, the polarity point of Pluto is Leo. We are defined our individuality, our true selves, that which gives us joy. That so and something to do that we love, because when you're doing something that you love doing, it's not work. You're just living and you're being. And I think it's an important shift that's happening. But it's at 1 degree, and we have a ways to work through this. I mean, it's going to be a process for us. And I think that while we are doing this flipping back and forth between the nodes for this, at least for a short time while Venus and Mercury are there,
Mm-hmm.
I think that we will be learning and experiencing both sides, which will give us the opportunity to see what we don't want to do. You know, Mars in Taurus is going to be giving us this internal view of what we need. We'll be literally actioning that while this flipping back and forth is happening. And I think that that will help us to move toward the North Node, because we will discover, you know, we're not happy, and it doesn't feel good when we're doing the South Node anymore, where the energy is really pushing us to move forward in this journey, this constant journey forward. Um, it seems to me like the energy is really starting to push us out of that South Node energy and toward that North Node.
And I also feel that, and I don't know why, I'm just really feeling very strongly this, Chiron, that throughout this Cancer season, I mean, maybe it won't be for everyone, I don't know, I obviously don't know everybody's life, but I feel that many of us will get triggered because it's this Cancer. Where do we feel unsafe, right? Where our inner child wounding will come up because of the needs that were not being met, and we will try to look for the same solutions, look to the same people, like, hey, you know, I need you to fix it for me, or I need you to do this for me, and it's not going to work. It's not
No.
going to work. I'm pretty sure it's not going to work because of the South Node in Libra. Venus is in Cancer. You know, it takes you back within. Venus at the moment is the ruler of Mars. Mars is in Taurus. It takes you back within. So I feel that many of us will very likely be experiencing this, where we will get triggered. Something will get triggered within our inner landscape, where we will feel unsafe. And we will want to try to nurture ourselves through external means, you know, like whether it's a person, whether it's a substance, whatever, because Neptune is at the end of the day squaring this moon, whatever it is, you know, whatever it is, and it's not going to work anymore. It cannot work anymore, because that's not where the future lies. It's not where the answers lies. It's not the way forward no more. And like you and I were saying, that, you know, universe is literally pinning us to the wall, which is going to,
Yeah.
like, it's going to make us to surrender and to try to look for different ways. And we will not find them outside. We will not find them externally. It's not going to be something that works long term. It's going to be just a, you know, quick solution that, just like a fast food, right? Like, you know, it's going to fill you up, but it's not going to sustain you, right? So it's not going to work. And this is how we're going to be forced to start exploring different solutions. And now, with everything being in, you know, this feminine insight, we will be forced to go within to look for the new solutions, which then will be taking us to this North Node in Aries, these new ways, this new cycle, this new creation of reality we'll be experiencing. Because then everything's going to move to Leo, and that is our purpose. So we have now that 1 month to really reconnect with our inner landscape, with our inner world. And the way we're going to be forced to do it is by this external world creating circumstances that are going to take us exactly there, because that's usually how it works.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, yeah, it's an interesting thing, this that the Neptune is square but this moon. And for me, Neptune is about like dissolving everything that's come before, all of the structures and boundaries and things that are no longer supporting us, and also helping to align us with, a higher meaning, a higher with source. Um, and it being square, so it's a closing square to the moon. Well, it's closing both ways, both directions. And so this is the crisis in consciousness. This is where our beliefs are changing, which is interesting because as our beliefs change, we see that Jupiter is in Gemini. So here are these beliefs, we're being exposed to all kinds of new information. We're taking new information in so that we can align ourselves with source, really. We're stepping outside of the consciousness of the patriarchy and we're moving into this new sense of reality. I mean, I would imagine that people are experiencing some unusual things and maybe not understand them or and just are curious to like follow these interesting things. Synchronicities is what comes to mind. Some interesting synchronicities. And I was telling you earlier, I think I'll share this story again. I was writing my moon report and I wrote a few paragraphs as like a introduction a few days ago. And then I came back to work on my moon report yesterday, and the whole thing was completely wiped away. And instead of becoming so upset, I mean, at first I was like, oh my God, the panic struck. and, and like, oh, I have to start again. And then as I started to write again, I couldn't remember what I wrote. And there was no cues for me, and I just had to look at the planets again and just take out what was rising to the surface for me, and it was really completely different. And then I realized that whatever I had started to write wasn't in line with what was needed to speak about, what I needed to speak about, something completely different that I'm very happy with came to the surface. So, and it's interesting, as I was sharing this story with Mila earlier, she was like, oh, well, Mercury crossed the sun during this time. I was like, oh, so I was carrying in this old information, but what I really needed was this new information. And so this is the kind of expansion in our reality that our minds are starting to become aware of. And I mean, I'm sure there are all kinds of different ways that people are experiencing it, but that was my experience.
Absolutely. And like I shared with you with regards to my reality and the challenges I'm experiencing at the moment and trying to patch them up with the old solutions, like, okay, maybe I need to do this because this is what I had done before and stuff. Nothing works. Nothing works. And I'm like, I guess I am not supposed to do the same thing, right? Try to resolve the same problem with the same solution, which didn't work before either. So this is where, especially because Cancer season, and I'm like, I know that at the time of us recording this, we are not yet in a Cancer season, but I feel it so strongly, and I know you do too, because you have moon in Pisces, I have moon in Cancer, so we feel these seasons very strongly even before they happen. And yeah, I feel that really we are, especially in this Cancer season, we are invited to just surrender, just to trust and just to go by the intuition, not by the logical mind as much, because yeah, this Mercury Sun conjuncted squared Neptune, for Sun and Neptune is the closing square, for Mercury Neptune is the first square. So yeah, we need to make some changes with regards to how we connect with the outer world, outer reality, because we're changing it, because there is this release point with the Neptune and Sun, which is saying that this is ending. This is ending because this Mercury, crossed the Sun, squared the Neptune, and is saying because there is a completely new reality that is simultaneously being created to be experienced, but it's going to be very different from the old one, because Saturn, Neptune, Pisces, you know, the old is ending. That's it, you know, like it's not like we just keep saying it for the fun of it. This is actually really what's happening, and we are all experiencing, and we'll be experiencing it even more as we go forward with everything that's going to be taking place. So it literally is, especially now entering into Cancer season, about this receptivity and not trying to figure it all out with our logical brain by trying to use the old solutions, because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's why we just have to just surrender, let go, and be receptive to this new information that, you know, will be coming. Just we need to like be open to it. And also what came to me through my channel writing was that you know, like, why don't we just ask for help, you know, our spirit guides, angelic team, universe, whatever, to say like, hey, listen, you know, I'm open to receiving guidance with regards to this next chapter of my life, and I'm willing to become the highest potential who I came here to become, and just give me signs, give me help. So, you know, because otherwise we feel alone and separated, and we feel I need to figure it out all by myself based on what happened before. But we know what happened before is not gonna be working in the future, because the world is not in alignment with the old world.
Exactly. And then there's this uncomfortability that we all carry, you know. Chiron is in Aries. We carry this uncomfortability of moving out on our own and just being spontaneous with our action. We think that everything has to be calculated and planned, but if we can just and it's because of, you know, our past conditioning and the way that we lived probably thousands of years ago. But and during these times, we've evolved enough to be able to do that. Now we'll still be linked to other people around us. We're not going to all of a sudden just run off and be separate islands unto ourselves, but we'll be having a little bit more balance with what our desires are and what our needs are and what it is that we want to do from the inside. And we'll join that with other people that are doing the same thing. So I think, like you were saying, it's a matter of surrender. There's a matter of, you know, trusting that everything that's coming through you is what's supposed to come through you. And if it's put you up against the wall, there's a reason for it. And we have to come from within and decide, okay, what do we want? What do we want to have happen? And then just allow that to flow. So, and then trust that it will happen. And pay attention, because everything is shifting. Our awareness of what is happening is shifting as well. And so we may get different hits of what is actually happening. And you know, it's like nothing is staying the same. As Jupiter crossed over Uranus, everything changed, and in a way that is so subtle that we might not notice it. It's going to take time for all of what happened to come into our awareness. It's going to come in over time. Where we're looking first is within. This is where we have to find it, is within.
Yeah, but there's this other in conjunction as well, the South Nodes to Mars, because it's like with the South Node in Libra, it's like we have the, you know, totality of understanding of how human social interaction has been until this point. Like we know how it works. We know what how we operate as humans in a society, like what's expected of us relationship wise, contracts, you know, Libra justice system, all the, you know, the men-made law, the justice, right? The
Yes.
Libra, right? We understand that. We understand it. But now there is this in conjunction, because this Mars is the rule of the North Node and the rule of Chiron, the, you know, the insecurity, the uncertainty into doing something different in a different way, because previously that meant you're not gonna survive, right? You want to be different, okay, you go out there out of the village on your own, you're gonna get eaten by a bear, and that's it, end of story, right? But this is what still lives within us, that to try to be going against the, you know, the stream and status quo, that means that, oh well, we're gonna be choked out of the society, and we will not survive, right? There is that fear, there is that trauma. But and this Mars in conjunction with this South Node, because this Mars is in Taurus, and we know naturally Taurus and Libra in conjunction, even though they're ruled by the same Venus, because it's like, oh, but if my needs are being met, then I'm going against other people. I'm being selfish or something. Or then if I do what everybody else is doing, then my needs are not being met and stuff. And this is exactly what we're trying to balance with this South and the North Node, because it's saying, how can we create a world that is fair for everyone? That actually means that nobody has to sacrifice. Yeah, not everybody's going to be the best friends, right? But we can still live in respect and honor of one another, and still be who we are and do what we came here to do. It just means that, okay, well, you will be more gravitating towards these people, because this is also something that many of my clients struggle with, because of, you know, all of us being conditioned and programmed, where if you want to get a job, this is what you need to, it starts from school, right? If you want to get good
Yes.
grades at school, you need to memorize and recite like a parrot exactly what you were being told. If you try to, maybe hopefully the system is starting to change now, so kids are being more encouraged to be creative and authentic. But where I went to school in 80s, you need to say exactly what the teacher tells you to tell, and then you get great, you know, good grades for it. And then based on that, you get
Absolutely.
your certificate and your degree and whatever. You just recite what you've been told you need to learn, right? So we were
Yes.
being told that in order for me to fit into the world and society, even with the conditioning with regards to looks, you know, oh, if you want to get, like, look at these stupid magazines, Glamour and whatnot, you know, oh, if you want to get these guys, you know, you need to look like this and be like this and do this and, you know, blah, 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 right? So we were always being encouraged, programmed, manipulated, and pushed into being someone other than who we are, right? You know, because it was
Exactly.
like, well, if you want to get these grades, get this job, get this husband, get whatever the hell, you know, you need to be this, right? So
Yes.
this is the in conjunction, because it says like, well, me, myself, and I have these needs, and this is what my inner world is telling me. But the outer world has been telling me all my life that I need to be someone else to fit in. And
Exactly.
this is the wounding. This is what we're trying to heal, because Chiron being in Aries, it's saying, well, you need to be brave to be different, right? To be someone, you know, to be yourself, to start this new
Yes.
cycle and be courageous, and just to show up, right? Like Aries, just to show up and go for it. And it's
Yes.
like, but how do we do that? This is not how majority of us were being brought up. Maybe hopefully these new kids that are being born to conscious parents that already done the healing and work, but us that are adults and, you know, older, we were not being brought up this way. Majority, maybe some people were, majority weren't. So this is what is so hard. This is what makes it so hard. This is the Chiron in Aries, exactly
Yes.
because of this.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's interesting. One of the things that I had forgotten about, but since since Jupiter moved into Gemini, I've had a few experiences where my point of view is met by another person's point of view, and they're actually extremely different. And so this is like this energy of there's so many points of view, and how can they be um, allowed to be and yet fit into one? It's like, I can't even describe one of the conversations that I had last week about how I can have my point of view, another person can have their point of view, and yet those two opposing points of view can be fit together in a system that allows both of us to be. And in a way that it supports each other, even though the ideas and the cosmology is very, very different. So I think that that's a lot of what's happening with this Jupiter, because we're all going to have different perspectives. We're all going to have, um, which is very different from what you're saying, where we're all taught the same idea. We all have to have the same perception. We have to be able to spew out the same information. This Jupiter and Gemini is like, nope, we can all have a different point of view. We can all have different cosmologies. We can all recognize a different truth that aligns with who we are and still have a place to fit into the whole. But that's a very big learning curve for all of us. We've not, I mean, here in the here and now, and up until now, what it's been is people fight to the death over their different belief systems.
Well, that's why
And
the wars exist, right?
exactly. And this is something that will hopefully change for the future, that we'll learn to have our different beliefs and somehow allow those to fit in. I'm not sure how that will manifest, but you know,
Well, it
like
will
I
manifest
said,
two ways. The first way would be the that we heal. The people that will want to change, they'll have to heal this. It's the same, like, the thing that I've been processing and digesting with regards to relationships and what relationships are, and the downloads I've been getting with regards to relationships, because like just the word polyamory, for example, straight away triggers majority of people, because like, oh, but in essence we are all polyamorous, every single one of us, because poly is many, amor is relationship, is love, right? And I mean, just you and I, we are polyamorous because we have in a relationship. Okay, we not
yep,
having intimate encounters, in the sexual way, but we still have in a relationship. We polyamorous, so it's like all these different labels which we actually need to expand what they actually means, because the
yeah,
way we identify any labels and have been identifying until this point is very limited. So just so what I started saying with regards to how can we accept and respect other people's opinions, even though they're completely opposing opinions, is that if everybody heals this wound that we have within ourselves, and it can only be healed within, it cannot be healed by someone outside of us, the healing has to happen within, then we won't be threatened. Because, for example, and again, this is not my preference, at least not at this stage in my life, because I still have a lot of work to do on my own healing and wounding. But if we heal this sense of lack and disconnection and insecurity, all Taurus, by the way, then why would I be threatened by someone else? Like, yeah, you are younger or prettier or skinnier or whatever the hell, doesn't matter, or different color skin, or think something different, believe something. What does it have to do with me? If
yeah,
I feel safe and secure within myself, Taurus, if my foundation is strong, I don't need you to be anything other than what you are, because I don't feel threatened. And that then of course is being mirrored by our relationship. So, to answer the initial question, what you said, how do we bridge that gap? Two ways. People will heal or people will die, because the generations that carry the most wounding, we either have to heal the wounding, or we won't be here anymore in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We won't be here anymore, because this new generation, Pluto Sag onwards, especially Pluto Sagittarius, which are the generations that, are confused with regards to labels and identities and orientation and whatever, it doesn't matter. They are the ones that actually, they're not confused. They're just bringing out different point of view,
yeah,
right, wrong, we agree, we don't agree, doesn't matter. It's a different point of view. It's a Sagittarius, it's expansion, it's Jupiter. So actually, this is how world is gonna change. We
yeah,
heal, or there are already these new beings being born. Some of these beings now entering adulthood. These millennials, Pluto Sagittarius is, they're already young adults, some of them. So this is
oh
how
yeah,
world is gonna change, because these kids, you tell them go and fight, they will say, what for? This has nothing to do with me. I'm not saying everyone, depends on the conditioning and environment. Majority of Pluto Sagittariuses will not go to fight somebody else's war because they will go, this has nothing to do with me. They can just believe what they want. What it has to do with me? Because they have a different software, they have a different program. And the younger ones, yet they are children. You know, why would any child born after 2008 go and I need to kill you because what? You know, so that's what I mean. This younger generation, they have a very different software in their head. Like, again, you know, I'm not saying every single being, every single one, because we know there are tragedies happening all over the world where kids go and, you know, do all sorts of things that are response to trauma, right? So I'm not saying every single person of every single generation is copy paste. No, but this younger generation are wired differently. So again, how are we going to change the world? Two ways. We are going to heal and change, or we're going to be not around anymore, and this new generation are being born with different software. They are new human beings, new new beings, new humans. It's a new human soul, right? So this is how eventually the world will change, because when these children that are now small will be adults, majority of them will not be interested in war. They won't, because it's not in them. The software is not there.
From my experience, the Pluto in Sagittarius generation, I mean, by any means, I haven't seen a huge cross section of them, but from the ones that I have had relationship with, you know, as a farmer, I have a lot of young people that come to learn, and I have experienced a lot of Pluto in Sagittarius generation. They're looking for new truth, and I find them to be very confrontational when it comes to limiting beliefs. And you know, I think that they tend to be very accepting of differences of people. Their morals are different. You know, they want to be accepting of you know, the different sexual orientations, different kinds of relationships. I find them to be very much more balanced in that way. Less hate knowledge, they're hate language. They're just prepared to, I guess, find a balance is how I see them. I just find them to be very considerate of other people, very considerate of the earth, very considerate of, you know, of morals just in general. You know, the way that we've been acting in this particular way, or and they tend to be a little bit confrontational about that.
Yeah, because a lot of these children, in a sense, they feel that they landed in a wrong planet. They feel that they came too early to a planet that is not ready for them, which is why so many of them struggle with, you know, mental condition, are on antidepressants, or even many of them commit suicide because they don't feel that they belong here. But that's actually because it's a Sagittarius, same as, you know, your generation, Pluto Virgo. You came here to change the pattern, to prepare for the new seeding, for the new change of consciousness, for the new cardinal sign to be born in. So that's why I always say to my Pluto Virgo clients that you made what is happening right now possible, because you shifted the pattern. Is the mutable sign. So it's the same with Pluto Sagittarius, that they, like, not all of them are here to stay until they're 100 years old, because that generation came here to change the pattern, to prepare it for the next generation. You know, Capricorns, Aquarius, and then of course we'll have a Pisces, Pluto Pisces, born after what was it? 2044, 2043, 2044. And by then we know it's going to be a completely different world in 20 years time. But these Sagis, they struggle because they feel like, where do we belong? You know, because we're born into the world that is not in alignment with who the energy we brought in, but that's why they so needed, because they're the ones that are shifting the pattern in preparation for Capricorns and Pluto Aquariuses.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the Pluto Sag, when they have children, they're going to have the Pluto and Aquarius generation, which is really
Yes.
quite interesting. It makes sense to me because they're open philosophically, and which is going to help them to raise children that are individualistic.
Yeah, conscious parenting.
Conscious parenting, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how, the next 20 years, because I think they're all coming into, reproductive age at this time.
Mm-hmm.
There are probably some of these early Pluto in Aquarius children that have been born over the last year may very well have parents that are Pluto in Sag, because I think, yeah, they're in their late 20s, moving into their late 20s.
Yeah, well, 2000, what it was, 1998, 1999. So yeah,
Even
25,
before
yeah, mid.
97, I think, for some.
Yeah, so they are coming. They're definitely like early mid 20s by this stage. Some of
Yeah,
them are late teenagers, but either way, they're now coming into the age where they are, either going through their last Saturn quarter square, the crisis in consciousness, or approaching their Saturn return slowly, slowly. And this is where they will start. I mean, many of them already are, because they're very mature souls, consciously creating the reality they want to be experiencing without having to carry the karma of the previous generation, which we are working on transmutating. But of course, it's a co-creation. It's a
yeah,
common effort, right? Together effort. But yeah, I definitely deeply resonate with Pluto Sagittarius, is because my Pluto is in the ninth house. So I totally understand where they're coming from. But also, like you were saying, with this Pluto Sag being the parents to Pluto Aquarius, is because we know that majority of Pluto Aquarius will be this, what is the polite term? Neurodivergent.
neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent, right? Because this is the way we're going to also change the human mind, right? The human consciousness on the logical level, because these kids are not programmable. People who
Exactly.
are neurodivergent, right? Whatever label we want to use for them, these special children that are being born, they are actually the children, the humans from the future. They are the
Yeah,
humans from the future. Pluto Aquarius are children of the future. They are beings that came from the future, and they are creating this new prototype, right? The new prototype of being thinking. So of course they're going to be born to Pluto Sagittarius, because Pluto Sagittarius is all embracing, open-minded. Not again, not everyone. Of
not
course, we
everybody,
don't have
but in
copy
general,
paste. The entire generation is copy paste, but more than other generation prior. And this
sure.
Pluto Aquarius is they will be something completely different yet. Completely different yet. So yeah, this is again going into completely different rabbit hole, but everything is connected to everything. Everything is connected even to this
Yeah,
Pluto Capricorn, because Pluto Capricorn, we are getting Pluto Capricorn one more time in September, but this full moon in Capricorn, because this is the illumination of what was. What was, because we now move into what is now and coming, because of these squares to nodes now pointing to north node. So things have shifted, and they're going to continue to shift. And of course, next month we have Mars conjunct in Uranus. So things are continuously moving, and they're moving fast. And
yeah, that should be interesting times.
yeah, the
Huh.
stabilizers are off. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, oh yes, for sure. I mean, we're in it now. We're just going. Things are happening rapidly. Um, and yeah, all I can say is you just have to kind of be open and be aware, because things are changing there are big things that are changing as well, but a lot of it is very subtle, just very subtle differences to become aware of. And we'll become aware of those things internally first because we'll feel them. And this is why I think we're having this stellium in Cancer right now with all of this other energy, is that these changes that are happening will be subtle, and we'll have to feel them first. We'll feel them first and then we'll see them. And we'll be looking at them with new eyes just because it's changed. It's different. We'll be seeing, I mean, I can't put my finger on any example to share, but I just feel like these changes that are happening, I mean, we'll have like gross changes as well. That'll happen, but I think that a lot of what'll happen first is very subtle nuances that will appear in the visual field, where something maybe that we haven't noticed before, an energy shift even that we haven't noticed before, but then, it'll subtly move and we'll be able to pay attention to it and then watch that grow and find it within ourselves, because we'll find it within ourselves first before we actually experience it in the outer world.
Yeah, and that's exactly how manifestation works, right? We need to, well, there is always the thought, because everything is created from the thought, but then it's about feeling into it, visualizing it in our third eye, in our, like mind's eye, and feeling into it. And this is like also how they say, for example, if you want to manifest a partner, they said you need to feel first. You need to feel what it would feel like to have this in my life. And I know a lot of teachers of manifestation, they say you need to feel it. Like, yeah, they say even in secret says, oh, you need to believe it before you can see it and release it. But they missed out the most important component of the manifestation, which is the feel it. You need to feel it, not just believe it, not just visualize. You need to feel it. You need to know what it feels like. So this is just like what you said, like, and this is exactly what I was tapping into as well with regards to Cancer season, that there might not be so many changes happening externally, because first they need to happen internally, because this is how manifestation happens. The inner landscape is changing, and then the outer landscape will, we will project our changes within into the outer environment, and that's when we will see them manifested, which, will happen faster than we think. But this is why, because we need to first tune in, and this is what this Cancer, this Taurus, this Pisces, this is what it's all about. Tune in and ground it.
Absolutely. And the full moon in Capricorn allows us to take that inner sensation, those inner feelings, that inner self-image, security, and put it in a new container, because it's changing from within and we're going to need to be able to contain it. And it's interesting with this new container that is coming in as the outer structure is dissolving. What's happening just naturally through the direction of the stars is this inner container is taking its place. So things will dissolve out, but we're not going anywhere. We're just having to shift where our protection and where our how we keep ourselves safe and how we keep ourselves intact, that will shift from outer to inner. So I think that this is the beginning of that. And we'll cycle through it many times, because as we grow, we're going to need, and it's like a mollusk that needs to find a new shell. As we grow and shift, we'll have to get another shell. It's a constant cycle of growth, growth through, the mind first. First happens in the mind. Everything is thought forms, and then we'll begin to feel those things. We'll feel the sensations of them in the body, and then with our expanded awareness, we'll need a new container to be able to house that, so that we can grow and live with those kinds of new energy changes, which you know, they're going to be happening fast and furious with Pluto and Aquarius.
And Uranus in Gemini next year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And
But, you know,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
was going to say it's like these are the training grounds. We'll start off slow and we'll have to, you know, become resilient in these small little minute changes. And by the time that happens, we'll hopefully have a good, strong sense of self to be able to deal with the changes that happen when Uranus moves into Aquarius, Gemini and beyond.
Yeah, and this is what I feel, you know, this is why I really feel that we will be, and we are, and will be tested, because this is how we are building that resiliency. This is like, as I keep saying many times to my client, like, how would you know what everything you are able of or able to survive if you would have never been tested? Like, it is the, you know, the tangible human experience, the Virgo, you know, the past, you know, this learning and adjusting and hero journey and all that, you know, when we look back and see like, oh my God, everything that happened to you, you survived all of it. You know, if you're still here breathing, you survive every single thing that ever happened to you. But how would you know what you can survive if you were never tested? So this is especially with the square to Chiron that's coming up throughout Cancer season, and then of course Mars conjunct Uranus. We will be tested, you know, we will be
Yes,
tested because we need to learn to trust ourselves, and we would never know how much we are able to do if we never had to try, you know. So, and
exactly.
with the Cancer, it is like you said, you know, it is the forward and backward movement, and that's why we have these signs, you know, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, because it's always about this going outwards into the world, gathering the information, interacting with the outer world, and then we have to take it in and digest it and integrate it and, you know, ground it and stuff, because we're still living in at the moment, you know, in mostly three-dimensional reality, which is dense, you know, it's slow, but it might mean it's much faster now, especially with Uranus in Taurus, but it is still, you know, working in the time and space, you know,
Yes.
reality. So it will take time, but it will take much less time than most of us think. It is actually, everything is changing very, very quickly, very rapidly, and we will see a lot of changes, you know, coming up in a not so far future, for sure.
No, I feel that. I
Hmm.
feel that. I mean, it's already changing even since the first of the year, so
Yeah,
things
January
are
feels
just
like different
changing.
year.
It really does. And how fast, I mean, we're coming to the halfway point pretty
Exactly.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There you go. You know, like be almost there, halfway through the year, and it only just started like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's the way it seems.
Yeah, it's just like that's the thing, you know, like, and we spoke about it many times, especially, you know, since Saturn entered Pisces last year, that it's just the concept of time is so different, because in one sense we feel like, oh yeah, you know, like everything is happening so quickly, and then, you know, in other sense we feel like, oh, I can't even, you know, I can't even believe that this even happened this year, you know, that it feels like a long time. Like the concept, how we perceive and experience time is very different how it used to be.
Yes. Yeah. Things, I mean, sometimes I'll get up in the morning and go through my daily routines and get things done, and it'll be nighttime and already, and I'm like, wow, where did the whole day go? Like,
Mm.
where did it go? It just, it's incredible.
And I feel even more people start living with flow, that the more people will um, shake off the shackles of conditioning, let's just say, and then more and more people will start interacting with things and people and energies and frequencies that they are in alignment with, like, you know, like us having this conversation, you know, like we usually take 3 4 hours, and I'm like, what the hell, how did I speak to someone for that long, you know, and stuff like that,
Right.
you know. But this is like, you know, when people do things that they really love and enjoy, like, you know, for example, when you go to the concert of your favorite singer and stuff, and it could be for 3 hours, whatever, and you feel like, oh my God, it's gone so fast, you know, like I was having such a great time. Or it
Right.
cannot be, or when you go to watch a movie, like when I went to watch Avatar, and it was like 3 hours, I think, or three and a half
Oh, wow.
hours. And I was like, oh my God, you know, what am I going to be sitting there for 3 hours for, you know, without a break? And actually, I couldn't believe when it was ending. I was like, it's gone so fast, because you like
Wow.
enjoy yourself. And this is literally what life is, that the more we are tapped in and tuned in and in alignment with, with what is, the right frequency for our soul, right? That the time doesn't exist anymore. It just
Exactly.
disappears, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's how I experience, definitely how I experience it. So, yeah. Well, this is
Well,
good. Good,
we,
good place to be as we're shifting. And just becoming aware of the subtle differences that are taking place is um where I'm going to be focusing over the next few days and into toward this new moon coming up in 2 weeks.
yeah, and that's
Half weeks.
coming around quickly too, like, oh,
And,
we
I
just
mean, they
talked.
come around faster and faster.
Exactly. It's like days. The weeks are like days, and the
I
days are like
that's
hours.
That's what it seems like. And I mean, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that you and I did the new moon report. Like,
Yeah, and I was in England. And next time we speak, where I will be. I'll be still here next time. But
yeah.
after that, I'll
Yeah.
be in England again.
Yeah, I was in Seattle
Exactly.
this time.
And I
So
still remember like last year when I was in Mexico and we were talking, you come into Mexico and then you were in Mexico and then you left Mexico and then we were talking, me coming to Europe, you coming to Norwalk, and now it's all past.
yeah, we're getting around, aren't we? It's This is the movement. This is the movement that yeah, I love it.
Yeah, expansion.
Expansion. Yeah, things are changing. You got to get you can't get a different perspective unless you look at it from a different point of view, which means you have to move.
Exactly.
Even if it's just to like shift and look at it from this point of view.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to go to Seattle to come home to your farm and see things differently, right?
Absolutely. Like I can see I got to go and cover my blueberries. It's time to net the berries. The birds are eating too many.
Yeah. Well, I think we made this moon proud. I hope Capricorn would be happy with us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take some responsibility and cover the blueberries next.
Absolutely.
Here,
Awesome.
let
Well,
me take this down.
it's been
Yeah.
so cool. And I know you have some good news for us with regards to your website.
Oh my gosh, my website, it may get done this evening, but it will definitely be up. We just got the domain name transferred. The website is ready and it should be up. In fact, I'm going to talk to my niece this evening and try to just open it up on this new moon, full moon. So by Thursday, it'll be up. So JaskKarenAstrology.com. You'll be able to find
Perfect.
my you'll be able to find my new moon report there. My moon reports, I'll have a link there and you'll be able to reach out to me. I also have a Facebook page. You can reach out to me there, Jazz Karen Astrology. And yeah, that's how you can find me.
Cool. We rock and roll. We're going forward.
Moving forward, it's been a while. I've been working on it since January, before
Exactly. But there was
January.
that new moon in Capricorn.
There you go. Here we go. Full moon. Boom. Perfect.
Exactly.
All in divine order.
So it's been a pleasure as always, Adrienne. I don't want to allow all these birds to eat your blueberries, of course.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking forward to seeing you next time for the new moon in Cancer.
All right. You have a great couple of weeks.
You too. Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Bye for now.
Bye.